Well, hello there, Guardians. Today I'm going to be going over the lore for the Hawkmoon and Harbinger missions, as well as the ship that you get from the Harbinger mission, the Radiant Accipiter. So, unless there are more secrets hidden around the corner in the next few weeks, it seems that we finally have the full scope of the story behind the Season of the Hunt. It all started back in Arrivals when Sabathune tried to prevent us from communing with the darkness, and then disappeared. In this season, for reasons unknown, Xivu Arath decided now was the best time to throw her hat into the ring. Whether the motivation was the power vacuum left by Sabathune's disappearance, or punishment for her interference with the darkness in Arrivals, isn't really important. Yet. What is important is that Sabathune responded with a ploy of her own. If you weren't already aware, in the final mission of the Hawkmoon quest, and then again in the Harbinger mission, the enemies we are fighting are not Xivu Arath's minions. They are Sabathune's. I mean, it's kind of a big hint that they're taken, and Xivu Arath can't, take. So once again, Sabathune is sending her minions to interfere with our Guardian's communique. Only this time, it was with the Traveler and not the Darkness. At the end of the mission, we see Ghost speaking to the Traveler, and we receive the Hawkmoon, seemingly spawned from the void. It is very reminiscent of the gift that we received in Arrivals. Let's just hope to the Traveler and all that resides in the light that the Hawkmoon doesn't get nerfed into the ground like the ruinous effigy. My poor purple pooper gun. Interestingly, we see a different side of Sabathune in the lore tab for the Hawkmoon. What is this feeling? I did not ask for it. I do not understand it. I do not want it. The crow is so carefree in his ignorance. The bonfire's glow lights up his pale features, and I am drawn to the hope in his gold eyes. Where is the despairing child I anticipated? He drinks from an open bottle of wine against the recommendation of his ghost. The Guardian encourages him, and they are laughing. This celebration is maddening. Neither have reason to be so jubilant. Their world is ending, and they thrash like dying creatures in the final light of collapsing stars. They do not seem to acknowledge the futility of their existence, the impermanence of it in the face of cosmic annihilation. Now the Guardian is drinking, standing close to the fire. Their ghost, too, encourages them not to partake. They poison themselves for the enjoyment of it. I am reminded of my sisters, of moments spent by lapping shores, gazing up at infinite stars full of possibilities and wonder. What is this feeling? I do not understand it. I do not want it. They are celebrating their victory over the Taken. The crow is making a gun shape with his hand, swinging the nearly empty bottle of wine in the other like a sword. The Guardian looks pensive, sitting on a rock by the fire, contemplating the secret they are keeping. The crow notices, but tries not to show it. He wants the Guardian's spirits to be lifted. He wants to be supportive, so that they may share in their triumphs together, as equals. I am reminded of my home. I am reminded of the warmth of the sun and the embrace of my family. I am reminded of my father's face. I am reminded of everyone I'd betrayed. All the blood spilled in the name of immortality. The warmth of the sun burns me with its memory. What is this feeling? I do not want it. The fire has nearly died. The crow fell over and cannot stand, though he insists he is fine. The Guardian is turning the embers with the tip of their sword. The ghosts are talking to one another in quiet conspiracy. The celebration has ended, but I can sense their emotions are mixed, complex, and myriad things, when a simple singular focus would suffice. There is growing kinship here, against better judgment. What is this feeling? So what is this feeling, she asks, unable to remember a time when she felt anything other than a desire for power. But now these unwanted thoughts intrude. So what does it mean? I want to be very, very clear here. I do not believe that this is setting up some redemption arc for Sabathune, or even an uneasy alliance. If you go on to Reddit, you'll see that these ideas crop up here and there, and I just want to quash them now, because I don't buy it. Sabathune has outright slaughtered countless civilizations over millions of years. She's basically super space Hitler, Chairman Mao, Stalin, Khmer Rouge, and all wrapped up into one terrible package. No amount of warm, fuzzy feelings could ever erase what she's been a part of. And let's be even more clear. Yes, she was initially manipulated by the Wormbone familiar, once carried by her father, the Osmium King. But they did not take her free will. That's the thing with the Darkness and the Traveler. They both manipulate in their own ways, but never force people to their whim. It would destroy their game. So everything Sabathune did, she did of her own volition. She even foiled Oryx's attempts at mercy when they first left the Fundament and were fighting the Ammonite. So yeah, Sabathune is bad and she should feel bad. And while it's purely speculation at this point, and I could totally be wrong, I do not think that she will be redeemed or our Guardian will be allying with her, ever. Okay, so that's a lot of words saying what I think this isn't, but not what it is. So what is this? Why did Bungie write this interesting bit of lore? Well, dear viewer, tell me the last time that a villain had true nuance in their motivations in Destiny. Conflict, even. If you said Uldren, you'd be mostly correct. Every other villain has basically said out loud exactly what they were planning to do. Yes, even Aramis, it's okay boo, I still love your frozen ass. What I believe we are getting in this lore tab is simply just more color to a character that has been set up as the big bad for Destiny 2 since back in 2017, or arguably even the Taken King. We know that Sabathune is the embodiment of evil, that she is a trickster, but that can only make a villain so interesting. What makes them more interesting? What makes anything more interesting? Conflict. Double points for inner conflict. Again, this is all speculation, so please take it with a grain of salt. Though as Destiny players, please be careful because the majority of you already have dangerously high sodium levels, but I believe this is all just making the character more complex to make the story of Witch Queen and perhaps Lightfall more interesting. And then we got the ship, the Radiant Accipiter. Accipiter. Accipitor. I like that word. That's a nice word. So this is the ship that we get from the Harbinger mission, if you get all the feathers and everything. The lore tab is really interesting. Even though it doesn't connect with the Sabathune storyline, it gives us some insight into the Traveler and the Speaker. The first blurb is from Amanda Holiday. A paracausal ship. Hang on, I'm gonna do it in my Amanda voice. A paracausal ship. That's a new one. No navigation system, no controls, no computer on account of it responding directly to your thoughts. Not much to tinker with under the hood, mostly because there ain't no hood neither. Ah, truly poetry. So she says the ship is paracausal, which means that it must have been either created or somehow infused by the Traveler, as it's a paracausal being, and makes Guardians paracausal beings by giving them access to the light. So perhaps it was created as a medium or a way to speak with our Guardian or Ghost in the future. The next part of this tab is actually from the perspective of the Traveler, which would sort of seem to confirm that. Freedom is a chain. Choice is a prison. You see him, and all he wishes is for confirmation of that fact. But to do so would invoke something far worse than justification. You can feel his hand reaching inside of you, grasping for your heart, and tearing it free for himself. You know the pain he will cause. In one last act of defiance, you break your shackles, exerting the strength you had been slowly gathering all this time. Physical chains break, but chains of causality are not so fragile, even for you. You see him, and he is satisfied. Then, he is gone. Your roar of defiance echoes into the infinite. You know they will witness. It is only a matter of time. Yikes. So at first I thought the he here was in reference to the darkness, the winnower, somehow. But upon closer reading, and the passage that comes later, it's clearly Gaul. The traveler is recalling the events of the Red War here, and Gaul imprisoning her. Yes, the traveler's canonically female from Alpha Lupi in D1. She states that she has expended all the strength that she had been saving up, presumably since creating the ghosts after the collapse. The physical chains have a clear meaning. But what is meant by the chains of causality? Well, it's the cause and effect of the traveler uplifting a system, followed by the darkness sweeping in and destroying it. It follows her across the universe, system to system, and destroys those she helps, either through the Taken or by some other means. She was able to break the physical chains that Gaul had put on her, but by doing so alerted the darkness to her presence, and tugging on those chains of causality. Well, now we know that her fears were, in fact, realized. The next bit is from the perspective of, you know what, I'll just read it, it's kind of self-explanatory. I am the last speaker. During the long years I have held this title, I've held out hope that my peers still remain somewhere in this world, or others. But that hope, like this one, has been taken from me. I compose these thoughts on the eve of what may well be my passing, within the cold walls of a prison, so dark and suffocating, not my private chambers. They are my last words, but perhaps my most important. My captor desires knowledge, understanding, a clarity that even I have been denied by the traveler. He does not understand how hard it is to communicate, does not care to. He would take rather than have the patience to be given. He asks me to make the traveler see him, speak to him, but he does not understand anything. I can only listen and repeat, but he does not wish to listen to the warnings, to me. He does not wish to believe that he will be reduced to memory, fail. I have seen it. I have seen so many things. Before that shackle was put out around the traveler, it cried out to me. It showed me a broken mask, repaired by gold on fractured seams. Everything I needed to see. A lifetime of service rewarded. I do not need to be afraid, the speaker, any longer. There is no need for fear. That time has passed. Of us, of my peers, of our order. In the time to come, to make a choice, the traveler will speak freely. Those who listen will know the dangers to come, and those who know will listen. They are not forgotten. They are not speakers, for our time has passed. A new age is dawning, and I wish I would live to see it. I am the last speaker, and I am at peace. Man, that's a bummer. So if you didn't catch that, this part is from the perspective of the speaker. Also during the Red War, and right before he was killed by Gaul's consul. The first interesting bit here is the note that the speaker hopes that his peers still remain, on this world or on others. This is interesting because we do not have a lot of insight on how the speaker is chosen. Was it a role that he volunteered for, or was he actually chosen, groomed from a number of candidates? From this small blurb, it would appear the answer is at least closer to the latter. He isn't talking about guardians as his peers, because he says he has thought about it during the long years he has held the title, i.e. before the Red War, before he had reason to worry about guardians not existing anymore. So who are these peers? He says that his peers existed as an order. So perhaps this title, The Last Speaker, is less about a torch passed down and more to do with this order which he is the last member of? In other words, in years past, were there multiple speakers at a given time? Might appear to be so, or at least there were other people who were ready to take up the mantle of speakers should one fall. Unfortunately, for now, all we have are really questions on this front. One other bit of note is about him seeing the speaker's mask repaired with seams of gold. This is a callback to a bowl in Zavala's office, which was repaired in the same manner. For those who don't know, this is a Japanese art form called kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired by using liquid gold to recombine the shattered pieces and mend the pottery. So the literal interpretation would be that Zavala will repair the speaker's mask. However, that seems a bit too easy. See, the art of kintsugi is often thought to be symbolic of the beauty of change and of a thing's history. It shows off this history, this damage, rather than trying to disguise it. So perhaps the next speaker to take the mantle will take the Guardians and the relationship with the Traveler in a new direction, admitting the faults of the past that led to strife. Or, as is hinted in the final paragraph, the role of the speaker will be worn by every Guardian, as the Traveler will begin to speak freely and not require a single intermediary. Either way, change is coming. Now that the darkness has invaded and spoken directly to our Guardian multiple times in the Unveiling Lore book, inside the pyramid ship at the end of Shadow Keep, and during the season of arrivals, it has beckoned us to its side, given us powers so that we would join it. It would seem that the Traveler is preparing to do the same, to give a counter-argument. So perhaps that is something that we'll be seeing in the coming seasons. You may notice also that there are double lines throughout this part. This is a sort of choose-your-own-adventure Destiny lore edition. The sentences make sense by either using the part inside the double lines or the part before or after. For example, a line towards the end can read either, "They are not forgotten," or "They are not speakers, for our time has passed." So, exactly why this is written this way isn't super clear, at least not to me. It completely changes the meaning of some individual sentences, but not really of the passage as a whole. I suggest copying and pasting this into Word and making two separate ones for the stuff inside the brackets and the stuff outside. So why would the speaker be speaking in this multi-directional language? Perhaps he is just a fan of efficiency. Or perhaps this could have something to do with the nature of paracausality. I'm not sure, to be honest. But anyways, Guardians, thanks for watching my latest lore wrestling, as Amanda Holliday would put it. Let me know what you think about what the speaker is trying to tell us with this strange way of writing, or what you think Xivu Arath's true goals are, or which of the two sisters is hotter. My money is on the Amazon Xivu. Her knight's legs can crush my skull anytime. Good lord. I need sleep. Until next time, Guardians.